Have a look at the French newspapers now. Clément's with us here on set. Of course, the paper's dominated here in France by that attack on soldiers in a suburb of Paris, Clément.
That's right. Just have a look at the front page of Le Parisien this morning. Des sentinelles devenus des cibles, sentinels who've become targets. The reason why Le Parisien is using the word sentinel is because the soldiers who were attacked on Wednesday were serving under the so-called Opération Sentinelle, an anti-terrorist operation that was set up after the attacks in November 2015 and which now numbers around 10,000 troops.
Not the first time, is it, that French soldiers have been targeted like this?
That's right. Le Parisien spoke to a retired army officer who says the recent wave of attacks against soldiers or members of the police is utterly depressing. That's a quote. Actually, the officer that Le Parisien interviewed decided to quit the army because of the Sentinelle operation. He says taking part in it was the final straw. I quote, "We face insults and aggressive behaviour on a daily basis. Being a target is a sacrifice I was no longer willing to make." And I found this cartoon in left-wing daily Libération to illustrate this state of mind that many soldiers are in. You see here troops with a target drawn on their uniforms. A stark reminder, really, that soldiers are putting their lives on the line to keep us safe.
Well, indeed, some are saying that soldiers and policemen are unnecessarily exposed. They're calling for the end of the state of emergency here. It's been in place right back since November 2015, hasn't it?
That's right. A lot of people, especially politicians on the left, have been saying that, also pointing out that the state of emergency harms our civil liberties and is a threat to our democracy. Right-wing daily Le Figaro, however, disagrees, saying that the terrorist threat remains extremely high in France. Danger is everywhere, I quote, so now is not a good time to lower our guard. Le Figaro goes on to conclude terrorists are not only targeting soldiers, they're targeting France and all French people.
The French papers are also full of the tit-for-tat, the verbal tit-for-tat between US President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
That's right. Donald Trump has promised North Korea fire and fury if it continues threats, and North Korea has in turn threatened to strike the US territory of Guam as early as mid-August. Catholic daily La Croix denounces a risky war of words between the two countries, but says the actual risk of an all-out nuclear war is unlikely. Libération is slightly more pessimistic, saying the verbal tit-for-tat could escalate into a full-scale military conflict. And why? Because both Kim Jong-un and Trump have one thing in common. They're both extremely unpredictable, and you can see how they've morphed their two faces together on their front page. The result is quite scary. The newspaper further argues that the two leaders could both push the nuclear button in a moment of fury or anger, and I quote, "The craziest of the two is not necessarily the one that first comes to mind."
Looks like you're about to be eaten there, Clément, I have to say. Of course, papers are now calling on the European Union, you found, as well, to perhaps step in to try to appease tensions here.
That's right. Communist paper L'Humanité says that too much is at stake to put our fate into the hands of, I quote, two nutcases. The newspaper slams France and Germany for not doing enough to promote peace and dialogue and reminds us that if war breaks out, no one will be safe.
Going to end on a lighter note. This is a groundbreaking study on the origin of flowers.
That's right. After all this testosterone-fueled war of words between Trump and Kim Jong-un, I thought talking about flowers would be a good idea. A team of scientists has found that all flowers on Earth, there are over 300,000 species, have one common ancestor. The mother of all flowers, as scientists are now calling it, disappeared 140 million years ago, but it started an ecological revolution that changed the face of the Earth as we know it, taking over every single piece of land or island. Now there are no fossils, but scientists have been able to reconstruct how it might have looked. You can have a look here at this picture in Le Figaro. I think it looks quite like a water lily.
It does a bit.
I don't know what you think.
Doesn't it? Well, you'd nearly been bitten by a Kim Jong-un Donald Trump. Now you're being swallowed by an enormous flower. Doing a good job. Nicely put. Thank you very much, Clément. Clément with the papers on France 24.